I'm just going to explain the 4 basic types of questions you're likely to expect. The first one is just a simple compound interest situation where you put some money into an investment or into the bank that's going to pay you some interest. Now, the initial amount that you put in is called the present value. So that's the value at the start. And over time, that value will increase according to compound interest. It's going to grow. And at the end of the investment, that value is called the future value, and obviously you will get that back. So the important thing here is that to notice is that the present value and the future value in the calculator will have opposite signs, because the present value was how much you put into the bank and the future value is how much you took out of the bank. So they're moving in opposite directions, so they'll have opposite signs. The next situation is the same as the compound interest, but this time you're going to also make some regular payments. For example, you might make a payment every month into the savings scheme. So it starts off the same. The initial amount that you put in is called the present value, but then every, say, month or quarter or half yearly, according to the question, you're also going to add some extra money into that savings scheme. So this on the calculator is PMT. That just stands for payment. And over time, you're just going to keep on making these payments. And at the very end, when you've finished making all the payments at the end of the term, you will obviously take that money out, and that will be the future value. So you put an initial amount in PV, present value. You make payments, PMT, over time, and then at the end, you take it all out as a future value. So in this situation, you can see that the initial present value and the payments are both going into the bank. So they will have the same signs, these 2 red lines. But the future value will have the opposite sign because the money is coming back to you. So it's moving in the opposite direction. The third case is mortgages, amortization. And what's going to happen here is you're going to borrow some money from the bank. So the money that you borrow from the bank is called the present value. And of course, once you've borrowed the money from the bank, you are going to do something with that, like buy a house. But you're going to have to pay the money back, and there will be a certain interest rate based on how much is left to pay back. So over time, you're going to make these payments back to the bank to try to pay off the mortgage. So over time, you'll just keep making these payments, and eventually the debt will be cancelled out. So in these types of situations, the future value will always end up being 0. And again, we can see that the present value was how much we borrowed from the bank. And the PMT is how much we paid back. So basically the present value and the PMT will have different signs because they're moving in different directions. The last case is these annuities, and it's kind of like the opposite to a mortgage. What happens is you pay a lump sum. So it could be for a pension or something, the money you've saved up. And that's your present value. And then with this lump sum, you have an interest rate, and they will give you a payment this time with the annuities. So you'll get a certain amount of money, for instance, every month. So the money you get is, again, the PMT, the payment, and you'll just keep getting these payments until the end of the term when all the money has gone. So in these situations, again, the future value will be 0. Again, we notice that the present value and the PMT will have different signs because the present value was the initial lump sum, so that was going into the bank, whereas the payments were coming out of the bank. So PV and PMT will have different signs in this case. When you're doing the questions, you can either just consider when things are opposite signs. So you can see that in the diagrams here with the red arrows and the blue arrows. Or a normal convention is actually to have the money that's going out of your pocket and into the bank as a negative because you are losing money, and any money coming back to you from the bank as a positive value. So here I've labeled all the red lines with a negative and all the blue lines as a positive. So in the examples that I'm going to do, I'm always going to put anything that's coming out from my pocket into the bank as a negative, and anything that's coming from the bank to me as a positive. So for example, with the mortgages, the present value I'm going to put as a positive because I get the money from the bank, but my payments are going from me to the bank, so I'm going to put that as a negative. You don't have to do it like this, but it just makes it more consistent. The other way to do it is just to put in the numbers from the question and just consider when things are opposite signs. So you can see that present value and future value here are opposite signs. Yeah. Here, again, present value and PMT will be opposite signs for mortgages and for the annuities.